Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're back at the 07 gsxr 600. So what we have, we left off checking valves. What we came up with was, let's see, exhaust and intake specs as followed: 7 thousandths to 11 thousandths on the exhaust and 3 thousandths to 7 thousandths on the intake. So, of course I looked at the service manual. I found one online off of Google, and it said to check the lash or clearance on the exhaust lobes and intake lobes when they're at, I don't know, a 45-degree angle from the head. I checked them at 90-degree angle from the head. So I rechecked them now, and I did have 3 of them that were out of spec, 3 exhausts that were out of specs. I did recheck them. Let's see. So I had three exhaust valves that were out of spec. So this one right here, it was 6 thousandths, and then the 2 here were 6 thousandths as well. So I turned the crank, got the lobes at 45-degree angle from the head, and then I checked them all with a 7 thousandths feeler gauge, and they did fit in there. They were tight, but they did fit in there. The intakes all in spec, and now the exhausts are all in spec. So I'm just shocked. 38,000 miles, and it doesn't need a valve adjustment. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, the only thing that the gauges were swapped. This bike was crashed. Definitely can see crash damage on it. So maybe they swapped the gauges, or it's not the original engine, but it's 38 according to I'm going up based off the gauges, so it's really an unknown. I'm assuming the bike has 38,000 miles, but no valve adjustment needed, or it was already done. So the good thing is we can get it back together, and we'll get these plastics, see if we can get the plastics on. The plastics are damaged, and then get an oil change. I finally got some oil. Filter, change out the spark plugs, and then just put it back together and see if we can sell it. Hang tight, guys. Alright, so we're going to reuse the gasket. I'm just going to dab a little RTV on the pockets for the cam, because that is pretty much the most common leaking spot. Yeah, and I'd also like to know if some of you guys have some higher mileage bikes out there. If 38,000 miles, I'm just shocked it doesn't need the valve adjustment. I mean, they're at the minimum spec, which to me is better than the higher spec, because as you get closer or over that higher spec, that's when you hear the tapping. So these are right at minimum 7 thousandths on the exhaust side, and then they're let's see, they're kind of in the middle of the intake side of the minimum, and right in the middle, 3, 4, 5 thousandths. So 4 and 5 thousandths on the intake. But I definitely don't hear any clacking going on, tapping. Alright, let's see if this is going to be a struggle getting this in here. I'm in the garage today. It's a rainy day, but it is one of the last nice days I'm going to get. Chicago weather. For some reason it's almost 70 degrees today, and it's November 5th, so I'll take it, rainy or not. something goofy here. I think it's this way. No room on the side. Up the seal. It's in there on an angle, but it can. Sliding the gasket on first because it's moving all over the place. This cable was in the way as well. Second cable was in the way. Trying to get the last seal popped in the recess there. There it is. Hitting something. What it is, I don't know. That is some tight quarters. Now the hard part is making sure the seal is still on there. It doesn't look like it is. Yep, the back part of the seal fell out. Probably easier to drop the motor to do this. Alright, looks like it's finally in here. Check the other side. Alright, we are good. Okay, so I'm going to tighten everything up. I'm going to put it back together. I'm trying to keep the video below or at least an hour or less, so this is going to take a good chunk of time because I still want to put the fairings on and change the oil and stuff. So I'm going to tighten the cam cover, and then I'll see you back to swap out those spark plugs. Alright, cam's on. I'm starting to pull the spark plugs. I loosened up two already. Two of them were really not even tight. I literally just moved the wrench or ratchet and they came loose. So somebody's been in here. I'll show you what everything looks like when I get the plugs out, but the plugs are loose, unfortunately. Here's the NGK plugs out of them. They're worn, there's no doubt about it. Some of the gap is a little larger and some of the cylinders. So let's look at the new ones. Alright, here's the new to old. What was in there was NGK C9Es, and what I purchased in a kit was CR9E. I have no idea what the difference is. Could be heat range, no clue, but they don't appear to be any different except for the electrode. Now this is the smallest gap out of all the plugs, and you could tell how worn it is. There's not much of a gap on this plug, so I'm gonna gap these just in case, because they may have taken a hit. I do have to look up the gap. I did not do that beforehand, so look at that one. That one has a very, very large gap. So let me look up the spec and then I'll gap these and put them in. Alright, gap spec is 28 to 32 thousandths, and we were dead on. My gapper doesn't go that low, so I just used some feeler gauges, and they're all right. It just looked a little tight when you're looking at it from the eye, but they're dead on. So let's put these in and let's get this engine put back together. Alright everybody, it's back together. You saw it in a couple seconds, whereas it actually took me a little over 2 hours to do that. There was a lot of wires in the wrong way. I took the extra time to remount the rectifier. They just had it zip tied. Yes, these are known issues because they're literally, I don't know why, Suzuki I guess didn't have enough room, so they decided to mount it right behind the radiator, and a lot of times they burn up. So A lot of people use the relocation kit that puts it right here, but I don't have that kit, and I just got sick of it sitting there dangling with zip ties, so I mounted it. I had to look for some screws, and while I was doing all that, I did notice bolt is missing, engine bolt is missing there, and the engine mounting bolt is missing there as well. So I'm confident that this either was like a part out type bike. Somebody tried parting it out and, you know, wasn't selling anything, or this engine was swapped and they just said, oh, I don't know where these two bolts go, and oh well, you know. So there's two engine bolts missing. It still has the two bolts here and in there holding the engine, or actually it's in there holding the engine in, but that's pretty dangerous. You know, that engine can move around, and especially if you come down doing a wheelie or something, it can crack something, most likely the engine or the frame. So that is, I gotta see if I can source those bolts. But otherwise, everything's back together, and it is ready to fire. It's getting pretty windy out here, so I'm gonna call it a day, and we're expecting a massive, so I'm gonna have to call it a day, and I'll see you guys next time. Yes, welcome back. Everything's assembled. Airbox tank, everything's back on. I did notice the engine mounts were missing, the upper ones here. Luckily, I don't know, I found two bolts in my junk drawer, perfect length, same thread pitch, and they fit exactly. So I put one here, and then I put one on the other side, so that's good to go. Yes, they're, you know, not the correct head and they're rusted, but it's better than nothing. So I topped up the coolant, just took it for a spin, runs great. I forgot to mention earlier, I did have to replace the gear selector switch, or gear position sensor. It wasn't recognizing neutral, and it wouldn't start unless the kickstand was up. So off camera, I replaced that like 2 weeks ago. I ordered it from eBay, got a used one, and swapped that out. The sensor is on this bike. The gear position sensor is behind the gear cover, or the front sprocket cover. Once you pull these bolts off, remove the shifter lever, and I think this comes out with it. You just have to pull out the cable. Once you pull it out, it's literally right here above the actual sprocket, front sprocket. It's a quick swap. You lift the tank, you pull the plug, two Allen bolts, hold it in there, and you swap it right out. So now it recognizes neutral now, and it starts up with the kickstand down. Before, it was not doing that. I noticed it, but I did not. I noticed it when I was riding last time, when it was cutting on and off. The on and off cutting off issue was the wiring that I showed prior, and then while I was there, I just replaced the sensor. So that's good to go. Let's do a quick oil change, and let's see if these plastics fit on. Some of them are cracked, so we'll see what we can do. This is going to be a cheap bike. I'm not putting $600 plastics on it. It's not worth it. I'm not going to get that money back, especially being, you know, $600. It's going to be Chinese plastic. So let's drain the oil and move on. All right, move the bike a little bit so the sun's not causing any glare. This bike has a 17mm drain plug. I did run the bike on purpose before I did this because I wanted the oil to warm up so I can, it's easier to drain. Oh, there's some nasty stuff on there. Let me get a rag. It had a little bit, I don't know if you can see that, where a little bit of sediment in there. Let's see, not much, but I don't know when the oil's been changed. You know, when these bikes get neglected, you know, they'll get crashed and neglected, sit in the garage. This particular bike unfortunately sat outside. If you look at, I think it was the previous videos, this was pretty frozen, so I had to WD it. There was a lot of corrosion in there from sitting outside. Don't leave your bikes outside, ladies and gentlemen. I understand, you know, we all don't have room. Some of us don't have the room, but if you're going to leave it outside, at least cover it, waterproof it somehow. But that's not going to stop the mice getting to it, because the mice will eat your wiring sitting outside. Doesn't matter where you live. You know, here we're out in the country. If you live in the city, it doesn't matter. They will hide up in there because it's warm, and they will eat your wiring. Oil looks good, just old, pretty black, no clumps. It's an oil drain plug, gentlemen, ladies as well. Don't crank on it. If you have a new seal, replace it. I have drained oil on many vehicles, and I never replace that seal because I'm not torquing it 100 foot-pounds. 5-10 foot-pounds, that's all you need. If you over torque it, you damage the seal. Now the fun part, getting in between the header to get the filter off. I bought a kit, if you know, I think I told you, I bought a kit on eBay. It came with a filter, aftermarket high flow, and then those NGK spark plugs. It was a kit. I don't remember what I paid for it, but I'm figuring I'll have to look, but those NGK spark plugs are pretty expensive. And this is a common filter you see on eBay, high flow. dipping filter in the oil, so I'm not putting it on the engine dry. The seal, at least. Okay. Definitely wipe the dripped oil everywhere off, because last thing you want to see is oil burning off of your header when you're riding it. Let me grab the oil. So I went with the best in the business, the Walmart Super Tech brand. I'm kidding. It's the cheapest. Actually, it wasn't that cheap. Full synthetic 4-stroke, meant for wet clutch systems or wet clutch bikes. So first thing you want to make sure is you're on the right side of the bike to fill up the oil. I gotta go to the other side. I'll take you guys with me. I don't know how much oil this takes, but we'll keep adding till we get to the upper line, and then I'll run the bike, start it, and then we'll check it again. That is tight. Wow. Use a funnel, because you're gonna dribble it everywhere if you don't. The sun's blinding me. This was a funnel I got from, I don't know, I bought something new, and it came with a quart of oil to fill it, and I've been reusing it. I think these were $9 each, so they're definitely not cheap. But, haven't had any problems. I've been using this oil on bikes for, I don't know, 5+ years. It's got some viscosity to it, 10W40. Okay, this is probably going to take a while, so I'm going to save you the boredom, and I'll be back when it's done. Alright, so I got 4 quarts in there, and all I had to do was look down. Right here it says 2,200 milliliters. So being in America, I don't know what the hell a milliliter is. So I looked on the bottle, and it says 1 quart is 946 milliliters. So I have almost, I'm not going to do the math, that's 1,800 milliliters roughly for 4 quarts. And I had this spare one sitting in the garage from a top off of another bike, so we're gonna put it's about a half a quart, and we'll put the rest of this in there, and we should be right there. Okay, that should do it. It is all the way at the top of the sight glass. Now keep in mind, we haven't ran it yet, so it still has to fill the oil filter. And then that's also a good time to see if our aftermarket oil filter doesn't piss oil or leak. I did tighten it by hand only. I don't use wrenches. So now we're just gonna tilt the bike level and see what we get. And she's good to go. It's on the top line, or just under the top line when it's on its side. So when you put it up level, it goes above. So that's perfect. A little overfilled, not going to hurt it. A lot of overfilled, you're going to hurt it. Some of that is lack of milliliter to quart conversion. I don't have time for that. So here we are. Now we're going to attempt to put plastics on this. Some of them are damaged, so let's get to it. I'm going to clean up my mess first, and then we'll get to it. Okay, so this is what I have for plastics. They are, I don't know, zip tied everywhere, scraped. This side isn't that bad. This one has a lot of scrape damage, like they're thrown on the floor and then something heavy put on top of it. Here's some more scraping. The left side one doesn't look that bad. And the belly doesn't look bad. The stickers are coming off. These are doesn't appear to be OEM. They look very cheap, so they're definitely Chinese plastics. And then we have one tab here. I don't know if you could see that sucker just broke off in my hand. So that one's probably not gonna mount correctly, or it'll probably rattle. We'll see if we can get some screws in it. This, it looks like we're missing something here. All I have is this. This is one side. I have no idea where this goes. Whenever you get a bike in pieces, it's very tough to put them together unless you actually took them apart. You have somewhat of a knowledge of putting it back together, I hope. Me, on the other hand, I'm old and forgetful, so if I take it apart, I probably forget how to put it back together. But in this particular case, it was bought like that. The plastics were handed to me, and I have no idea where this goes. Clueless, guessing maybe somewhere along there, maybe here, probably the other side. So obviously missing some pieces. No clue. I guess once we put them on, we'll figure it out. Let me cut these zip ties, because that's going to be a pain. Okay, cut all those zip ties off. one more zip tie hiding here. Not really hiding, right in front of my sight. And it looks like all the clips that hold them in are missing. And these Chinese fairings, they usually come with a little box of hardware. Of course, I didn't get any of that. So let's see if I can find some clips and at least get this mounted. You know, 1, 2, 3 bolts. Hopefully we can get something in there. I am losing daylight. Alright, I did find a package that I don't know what I bought, but it was from a Chinese set of plastics. I don't know what it's from, but I did find this. So we got some of the clips that are missing, plastic clips. There's only 4 or 5 of those in there, so we're probably gonna need a lot more of those. And miscellaneous nuts and washers. And then I did find in a box some OEM hardware. And you know they're OEM because they're actually steel or stainless steel, whereas the aftermarket Chinese ones are aluminum. They almost strip instantly. So let's see if we can. Of course, someone tightened them for some weird reason. Bigger than it's supposed to be. So what is this? This one might fit a little better. Yep, it fits better. See if we can find a screw that's not too long. Nope, there's nothing in here. I don't know what size this is. Oh, that's too small. That'll work, but the bolt is way too big. So I'm gonna have to search in my hardware drawer and see if I can find a smaller bolt. 2 smaller bolts. And unfortunately, these are the only ones I can find. So let's see if we can make these work. They're not going to look pretty. They're hex head. Usually the OEM will give you a large flat with a Torx, not a Torx, but a hex. Sorry, Allen. You either get an Allen or a Phillips head flat blade, but on this one, I think I used all those. one of these washers on there just because. Move the clip back a little bit. Yeah, it looks stupid, but better than nothing. Okay, sorry about that. Had an important phone call to make. Left fairing is on. So there's a couple rubber push tabs. So you know, 1, 2. I think there's another one somewhere over there. And then you have the 2 screw holes. Now, where the heck does this go and how does it go? This has got to be for the other side. So I am literally running out of light, so let's put the other side fairing on and then might have to call it a day. Same here, the clips are missing. Bend these down a little bit, some resistance. So this one has the broken tab. So it has 1. So you can see where the tabs go. This one is broken. So only thing that's going to hold it on is this 1 tab and then these 2 bolts. Another zip tie is my way. And the clutch cable, I don't know where this goes. I'm guessing it goes somewhere on the frame, but if you guys know where this mounts, please let me know. I don't see where this thing goes at all. Plastic washer. As if it really mattered. Yes, one is stainless, one is black. This one is just too short. Let's see if I can find a longer one. Alright, I was able to find another bolt. It was longer than it needed to be, so I just cut it down with a hacksaw and a vise. Okay, I mean it's tight. This inner panel needs a lot of push clips, which I don't have. Still would like to know where this goes. I mean, where the heck does this go? It's just something's missing here. Is that the piece? Yeah, there it is. Look at that. This doesn't seem right. How this cable is ran. Tab here is broken. Obviously, something here is broken. So this piece will most likely fly off. All I have is one. Looks like it's a Phillips head screw. I have a Phillips on me. Hold on. Okay, that clutch little mounting arm, it goes on that upper radiator mounting bracket. That's where it goes. So I picked it up, pulled this ram air tunnel out, and then I put the cable where it's supposed to be. My guess, I don't think it's supposed to go outside the frame. I think it's supposed to go in between the frame, but it's staying there for now. And then they just had the Phillips machine screw holder, not a machine screw, but oh man, that is very tight. It's definitely not the correct screw. Okay. Put the belly pan. Next. Whew, losing light quick, fellas, and it's getting cold. Anywhere back here where this mounts. This is where the exhaust, you can't see with my fat head in the way, you probably can't see down here. push clips. And it looks like there was a mounting tab here where I guess the exhaust was mounted prior, the OEM exhaust. Oh, I lied. So the mounting hole is here. Let's see if I can find a screw that goes in there. That's a small one. I found some bolts. They're Torx head with washers. I've essentially depleted everything in my bolt drawer. So I parted out a lot of bikes in my days, and I had a whole drawer full of bolts and stuff, hardware for motorcycles, sport bikes, and I've kind of used them all in, I don't know, 10, 15 years time by fixing them. I mean, the hardware alone could put you in a poorhouse. Some of you guys price some of the hardware. It's crazy. And then if you buy the kit from eBay, the Chinese kit, it's just all aluminum bolts. You can't tighten them too much, though. They literally just strip the bolt. Okay, I'll have to find some push clips. You know, obviously this whole piece is broken and missing there. Not much I can do about that. Let's go to the other side. Of course, there's that little crossbar I forgot. Alright, got that squared away. It took me a couple minutes to figure out where the heck it went. Like I said, I didn't take this apart, so I have no idea where the stuff goes. Some of you are probably laughing at me, but you know, it's the first bike I've had, or first 07 I've had. I'm not too familiar with them. I know 01 through 05, very, what am I trying to say? Like the back of my hand. I've parted out and worked on so many of the 01 through 05 gsxrs, so those I know very well. Bigger size. Once again, let me go find another bolt. Alright, I found a factory bolt. It's an Allen, of course. This thing's going to be a hodgepodge of different size and kind of bolts. Of course, it's not the correct one, and it's very, very wobbly. I don't have another one, so let me see if I could just find. This part is too long, so it's bottoming out and the plastic is sliding inside. So let me see if I can find a bunch of washers. There we go. Quick fix. 4 washers.
I hope you guys can even see me anymore. I'm hard to miss. But we are out of light. Alright, that's where we're going to stop. Have no idea what this is for. I'm going to guess it goes on the top of the cam cover. But we are not taking all that off. I've removed many of these. The 01 through 05, I think they were just like rubber flaps. Unless this goes underneath, in between, by the fork. Not sure. If you guys know, let me know. Not a big deal if it's not, but there's the bike. Missing a couple plastics and some broken plastics, but it's, for the most part, it's all together. You know, the price I'm going to sell this for, you know, no one's going to beat me up on that, because I'm going to sell it for pretty cheap. It is November 6th or 7th, I don't even know what day it is. So, you know, selling a bike here in Chicagoland in this time of year is really tough unless it's a really good deal. Most people don't start buying bikes until about February, March, you know, after they get their tax money back, and you know, then they have to sit there and stare at their bike for another month or two before they can even ride it, until the weather gets better in about April. Usually April, not all the time. But next video, we're going to tackle that front wheel, because I completely forgot about it. That front tire is bald, and that front rim has 2 bent lips. The rim is straight, which is good. That's why I did not buy one. But there's 2 bends. We're going to see if we can fix that. Until next time, we'll see you guys soon. Hello, everyone. It's me again. Was rushing to get the bike done before nightfall, and I realized after doing basic math, failing miserably, I overfilled the oil on the bike. Whoops. So the bike says let's see, what was it, 2200 milliliter, which comes to be, I don't know, 2.3 quarts, something like that. And I put 4.5 in there like an idiot. So, you know, I was rushing. I get the idiot award. Basic math failed me. So what I did was I put it on a jack. Put it on the jack on one side so the bike is level. Drained the plug. Well, pulled the plug out a little bit until I saw it come out to this line. It's just above the line. That's where I want it, just above it. So it's a little bit overfull. A lot of times when you're doing wheelies and stuff, you want to overfill it a little bit, but I'm not a wheelie person, but I'm going to overfill it a little bit anyway. That is literally, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of a quart overfull. Not much. So before it was, let's see, how much did I overfill it? I put it back in the canister. This is a 1/2 quart and a full quart. So 1.5 quart overfilled. Whoops. But I caught it in time. It's done. It is dark.
So I'll see you next time, and we'll work on that front wheel.